Hey everybody,
Hey everyone.
we're back again. It's good to see you. Good to know you're there.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. That was cute. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that. Good to know everyone's there again.
we can
Hello,
do the
everyone.
romper room, and I see.
I
So,
actually knew what you meant by that. Yeah.
yes.
Um, yes. So, yes. Hello, everyone. It is good to be back. It is good to know that you are all here. And today is Monday. So, how are you doing today?
Doing really good. It was a good day. What can I say? It was a good day.
It is a good day.
Yep. How are
And
you
to,
doing?
I am doing groovy, super
Excellent.
groovy. And today we are talking about.
Healing and the path to healing and how do you travel that path and whatever else comes up on that thread. Ronnie, I was thinking about healing, as you know, and probably our listeners know, or our watchers, I guess. I am a healer, among other things, but healing is one of my main callings, right? So I do the Reiki and the Unity fields and the new ETA that Dr. Thomas and I have developed and have rolled out. Um, but it made me start wondering, like, what about before? What do people do to move into a place where they could actually accept the healing or even go to some form of healing? And it doesn't have to be just the energy work, right? It could be like, what other kinds of healing are there? There's healing through therapy, there's healing through medicine, there's healing through self-reflection, there's healing through so many different ways. But what is it that gets you on that path? And what if you're scared? I mean, healing leads to some form of change, right? And change is probably one of the scarier things that we as humans have to face because then you're looking into the great unknown. Um, so I was thinking about moving towards healing or moving into healing and how do you get yourself on that path if you are feeling stuck, if you're maybe okay, something has to change. Something's got to give, but I'm not quite sure what, and I'm not quite sure how, and I'm not quite sure I want it to because of the unknown. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So, what do we do as people to get ourselves onto that healing path? And it's interesting because there's so many different ways. Like I said, there's so many different ways of healing, and there's so many different ways that people can approach it because healing in any capacity is still an individual quest. It's not something that someone can do for you. It's not something that comes, sometimes it doesn't even come automatically. I mean, little things, sure, you get a cut and it heals, right? You get a cold and it goes away and you're healed. But what about those bigger emotional things? Or what about those things that we carry around, the extra baggage, right? The extra things that are tied to our ankles that we're dragging along with us. And how do we heal from some of that stuff? And how do we get there? And I think that for a lot of people, it starts with the thought, I think something's wrong here. I think something's not right. And I think from there, you have two paths, right? Everything is always, there's always two answers. There's always two different ways to go, at least, right? But your path from, I think something is wrong, is I'm going to ignore it, or I'm going to look into this further and see what it is. And if you ignore it, then that's where you are. That's where you're staying. You're not going anywhere. If you look into it, you have to face the unknown. You might have to face some things that you don't want to think about. You might have to look at some aspects of yourself or aspects of your relationships or aspects of your life in general that you kind of prefer to keep them blurry and not maybe
Mm,
focus in on them quite so much. And when you can do that, that's what I think sets you on the path towards healing is the ability to take an unbiased look at yourself, your motives, your past, your influences, your emotions, all of the things that come into whatever that something isn't right feeling, right? A lot of people call that shadow work. And it is a form of shadow work because what you're doing is you're looking at the things that you don't really want to see. You're walking into that cellar and you're turning on the light, and all the little things that you've been hiding in your boxes start to come out. And that can be very, very scary for people who aren't willing or wanting to face some of their past things, you know? I mean, how many people want to look at themselves and say, wow, that was kind of a real crap thing that I did to that person. I wasn't a good person in this moment or that moment or whatever it is that you're unpacking. But when we do that, it gives us the chance to bring it to the light and first of all see it for what it is, because in our minds the things that we do get magnified a million times. I mean, how many times do you lay awake at night and the old cliche, you're laying there thinking of what you should have said to somebody back in high school 20 years ago or 40 years ago or whatever. um so we magnify these things and we pull them right out of proportion, which doesn't mean to downplay anything that we did that wasn't nice. It was still not nice. But when we can pull it out and shine the light on it, and you can see that, first of all, it's probably old. First of all, you might be the only one that remembers it, or it may not be quite as terrible as you think it is. Maybe it is as terrible as you think it is. But you know what you can do then when you're holding it?
You
You can
can look at
forgive.
it.
Yep. Forgive yourself. Bless the pain. Bless the sadness. Bless the memories that you wish you didn't have, and let them go. Way easier said than done. I'm not downplaying anyone's hard work on these types of paths because I've been on healing path myself and I understand that there's a lot of work and there's a lot of pain that you have to work through. But if we look at those things that we are keeping boxed up in a corner without a light on it and we really bring it to light, it's hard and it's scary, but it allows us to let go. You open the box and you see it might just be dust. There might be things that you're holding on to for so long that no longer serve you to hold on to them, but you've been carrying them around because you think you have to, or because you haven't resolved your feelings about them, or whatever. Now, if we're looking into bigger things, right? If we're looking into trauma, if we're looking into really bad things, you hurt somebody physically, there's abuse, any of those kinds of large issues, they are still boxed up down there. They still need the light to shine on them. But this is where I put the caveat and I say, they also need some professional help, so don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it when you're unpacking your boxes. Okay?
Well, and I agree. There was so much that you just said and that you just opened with that. I'm like, oh, where do I begin with all of that? Because I feel that you are exactly right. Um, and exactly what you just said, when you start looking within and you start unpacking your boxes and doing that shadow work, I find that even if you're just staying awake at night from 20, 40 years ago of something you shoulda, coulda said differently. We've talked about this before, where trauma is stored in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all those emotions are stored in the body, right? Like you said, you can heal from just a cut on your finger, you can heal from a cold, those are easy things. But anything that goes along with emotions, that is all stored within the body, and then we wonder why we have this pain and that pain. Well, tell me where your pain is, and I'll tell you what it's from. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
We've been dissecting that down for, I don't know, millennia. But anyway, my point is when you're just lying in bed thinking of those little things, like you said, it could or could not be a bigger thing in your head, but it's still your reality because it's your perception.
Right.
It's because that, even if it's something small, what we might think is more minute, it's still a link and triggering something bigger. It's still touching something in that bigger mass.
It's the fuse on the dynamite. Like when you saw the old cartoons when he'd light, like Wile E. Coyote would light it and you'd see the little spark going down. Every step you take is lighting that fuse.
Yep,
Yep. And when
exactly.
you get to the meat of the issue, yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It might feel like an explosion.
Yeah, yeah. And I love change. I
Mhm.
embrace change. I am one of the weird oddballs out there who just loves change, and I like shifting and changing with everything. Um, some changes obviously harder than others, and learning
Yep.
curves, of course, we all know how that goes. But at the end of the day, I do like change. And so for people who don't, that is always a hard one for me to fully comprehend and understand because I love change. I'm on the complete opposite end of it and can and have a hard time remembering and putting myself in those having more empathy than just compassion.
Hmm.
Being able to be in those moments where change was really hard for me and it didn't go well and I struggled with it. I don't have very many of those, and nor do I dwell on things like that either. I let all that type of stuff go for the most part. I mean, I
Right. You
really
don't
do.
fill your boxes
Um, no,
for
but
some of them.
sometimes our boxes get full even though we don't realize it.
Hmm. That's why it's shadow work. That's why we have to shine lights on those specific things so that we can see what
Yeah.
are we carrying around. I explained it to somebody once. Or maybe somebody explained it to me, but it's like you have all these boxes and they're tied to your ankles and you're walking and you're just dragging them along. And then what are they serving you?
Yeah,
If you're
it's your
not
literal
looking in them,
baggage.
yeah, you're not looking in them, you're not doing anything with them, you're just dragging them along and you trip over them sometimes. Other people trip over them,
Yeah.
you need to let it
But
go.
what's the difference between that and what you can see for people who are there's a fine line between hoarding and collector.
Yes. Yes.
So, you can keep collecting, fine line to when it becomes hoarding,
Right?
you
Right?
know? And
Right.
why are you holding on and saving all this stuff for what ifs? You're doing the same thing to your body. Why are you doing that to your body? Why are you holding on to and saving all this for the what if?
Right.
Let
And
it go.
if it doesn't serve you, what is the point? I mean,
Let it go.
we can carry things for other people, or we can help other people carry things, or we can teach them how to carry things. There's nothing wrong with anything any of those. But I think that if you carry enough stuff for other people and you add it to your load, you're making it harder on yourself. So if somebody, like, I think as a healer, if somebody really needs something and they need to talk about it or they want a healing or whatever the case is, um, the better way, as I perceive it, my truth, is to help somebody learn how to handle something, teach them, rather than just take it and do it for them, because then you become an enabler, or then you become someone who, or you don't help the person, and you mean well. We all mean well when we do stuff like that. We don't realize that we're doing it a lot of the time, right? You just kind of swoop in. Like, think about here's another stereotype: the mother-in-law that comes in after her daughter-in-law has a baby, swoop right in, take care of the baby, take care of everything. Oh no, honey, you rest, you rest. This is what you need. Meanwhile, she's running the show. And that daughter-in-law starts to resent that pretty quickly because she feels minimized. And she feels that she doesn't count as much, even though it's in the guise of helping and it's probably heartfelt helping. You want somebody to rest, so let me
Yeah,
take over for you. But then it
and we've
becomes,
had kids and we know what it's like immediately
yes,
after having a kid and yeah, it's a
yeah.
lot.
You're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, but you still want to be able to do some of it. So it's just like you said, it's a fine line. And when we take on all those things for other people and we carry other people's things, we start to resent them.
Mhm.
We start to resent the people that we are really just want to help, because I'm doing this for you and I'm doing this for you and I'm doing this for you. And what am I getting? Why can't you just say thank you? Or, those million things. Again, there's so many stereotypes in our modern life that fit into those scenarios. I do everything for you. Can't you just do something for me? Well, maybe the other person is doing something for you, but you're not picking up on that because you're too busy thinking about what you're doing. And I don't
Mhm.
mean like what was it? Was it the gift of the Magi where she cut her hair to buy him a fob for his watch, and he sold his watch to buy her a bow for her hair, right? That's kind of this altruistic. We'll put the
I've
link to,
never heard that story.
we'll put the title to it in the show notes when I'll look it up and we'll have it in the show notes at the end. But
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
you're
because I've
doing
never heard it.
it's like two people doing really good things for each other, meaning so well and meaning to help each other. And it's great, except that if we go overboard on that kind of helping or enabling, then we get to the point where we're doing everything for somebody else and we're carrying our burdens, which probably, to be honest, are one of the reasons that we're doing what we're doing. Um,
Well, so
and
that we can look at other things instead of ourselves.
well, that, and also so that we can replay continuous patterns that we've always played because we haven't healed them yet. Codependent
Mm.
enabler, things like that. I am not a therapist, by the way, so I use these words, but don't anyone assume that I'm a therapist because I absolutely am not. I am a life coach though. Um, so when we're looking to heal ourselves, not only do we have to unpack our boxes, not only do we have to look at those things that we have stored away tightly and securely that we haven't wanted, but we also have to look at the boxes that we're carrying for other people and ask ourselves, is this helping or is this hindering? Is it
Mm-hmm.
helping me? Is it helping the other person? Or is it hindering us? And if any one of those is a hindrance, you need to look at it some more. And then
Mm.
you need to look why. Why am I carrying the grief of others? Or why am I carrying the responsibility that I took on for myself to help someone and now I resent? Doesn't mean you're not a good person. It's normal. It's human to get upset, to resent, to feel shortchanged. Any of that stuff, it's normal. You can't help it. This is the body that we're in, the neurons that fire for us. This is what happens. The question is, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to move into a state of healing when you realize, oh my God, look at all the stuff that I'm carrying that I might not even need to be schlepping around for the last 20 years. I don't need to be carrying that. And then another interesting thing that people will ask is, does this make me a bad person to let go?
Why would it make somebody a... Tell me more.
Let's say that you have, okay, here's an example. You have, somebody has been married. Okay. They've been married for a long time. They're running the house, they're doing everything, right? The spouse is very dependent on them. Okay. Part of that the person is made because that's that codependent relationship or that living out your own traumas over and over again by, enabling or over helping. But maybe you start getting to the point where you're resenting now. I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything with nothing in return. Or it feels like nothing in return. Or the things that I'm getting in return aren't the right love language for me or the right thing that I need.
Somehow, some shape, form, it's not enough.
Right. And maybe that person starts thinking, I think I'd be better off if I wasn't here.
Mm.
But yet, this other person really depends on me. If I walk away, am I a bad person? That other person loves me. I know they do. But if I walk away, does that make me bad because I'm going to hurt somebody? Does it make me bad to think of myself before anybody else?
Oh, well, honey, that's a topic that we talk about all the time, how selfishness is not a negative word.
Right. But when we look at the stigma put on the word, it is.
Oh, I know.
So to heal ourselves, we have to kind of understand and get our minds around the fact that taking care of ourselves is just as important as any other good works that we do for other people. Same thing I say, I've probably said it on half of these podcasts. If the airplane is going down, you put your oxygen on first because you cannot help anybody if you're not breathing. So when you're thinking of, am I a bad person for making this change or that change? The question is, what are your intentions? What are your motives? And are you trying to help yourself or make things worse? And if your motives are pure, you're not intentionally hurting anyone, you're not putting someone in danger. I'm talking about maybe walking away from a relationship, right? It's hard. You know you're going to hurt the other person. You know the other person cares about you. But the only way that you can be who you really are is to not be in that situation anymore. Are you a bad person? Or are you somebody who's finally realizing what they need to do to heal themselves?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. I'm 100% on board with you, and I'm going to agree. And it is the latter. It's what we have to do for
Mm-hmm.
self-preservation. That is my new phrase is self-preservation. It's a no. And, when people try to tell you something or they have a lot of questions behind it or whatever, I'm just like, it's a no because I'm self-preserving.
Right. And self-preservation
Period.
is a step towards healing,
It
right?
really is. It really is. And it's so interesting because there's so much in here that like I said earlier, I don't even know where to begin because I've been on my own internal healing for the past couple weeks. Like I was literally trying to decide what does moving forward look like for me because got so off track and so out of alignment for over before that
Mm-hmm.
that I couldn't even see what moving forward looked like. And I literally had to shut everything down.
Mm-hmm. And you need to
And
do that.
and that's why we didn't have a podcast for 2 weeks is because I literally had to shut down and figure out, okay, when I'm ready to move forward, what does that look like? And I happen to have been in the position at this time in my life to where I could. Not everybody can take a 2-week hiatus and just crawl up in their bed for 2 weeks until they figure their shit out.
Right.
And I'm so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So grateful that I was able to do that. And that is one of the best things I've done for myself and I don't know how long.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of honesty. It was a good thing to do. Anyway, so with that, there's so much because I was just talking with a friend of mine about how looking at patterns. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned patterns in there. I feel like for our generation, and I'm going to speak for our generation, I feel like we are so, I don't even know what the word is. We don't really start thinking about presence and awareness until, in my opinion, we're in our 40s. Some never do, our generation, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I can remember moments of in my family. I'll say it like that. I can remember moments, and I still have these moments where I can watch certain family members as they've aged and as they are aging and getting older, or even the elders. I remember those moments when I look back and I'm like, oh, I remember when they got aware, when they had awareness moments, when they had true presence moments.
Yep.
They didn't get it till later either.
I think that your midlife awakenings are kind of a a status quo. There are people who are born awakened. There are people who become awakened much earlier. I won't say that doesn't happen because I know it does,
Exactly. Exactly.
but I think there's something about hitting that midlife stride where you've got all of the things that you've learned and all of the things that you're carrying. And you need to see
Hmm.
what do you want to bring forward for the second half, right?
And it's a game changer because that's
Mhm.
when, like we were talking about, that is when you can start looking inside your own personal baggage.
Mhm.
That's when you can start looking at the past and connecting the dots, going, oh crap, I made that choice. I made this decision. I did that. And that's how I got here.
But you know what else you can do?
And
You
then
can
you
look
can
at,
go bigger than that and look at the
right.
patterns of
Yep.
why this keeps happening as well. And it's only through having lived that you can truly see that, in my opinion, and having, different types of experiences, of course. However, that's something that I find so amazing about this younger generation. This younger generation that's coming in, and when I say younger, I'm going to talk to about 25 and below right now.
Yeah.
They're coming in with it differently.
Yes.
They're not like we are.
Nope.
However, the interim, that media, yeah, interim people. The people between like about 25-ish, give or take, to 35.
Mm-hmm.
They're who are currently there right now, and this is 2025 that we're talking about this. I don't know where they are yet.
They're still finding themselves because they're in the age
They
group.
really are. They're not the younger generations that are coming in right now. And they're not
Right.
us either.
Well, the thing is, I think that each generation that comes in a little bit more
Absolutely.
beyond. I don't know the right word. The youngest ones aren't even bringing karma in anymore. Karma is a thing of the past now.
I
And
know. That is
that's kind of an
so
ironic statement, but yes, karma is a thing of the past.
I know.
Um, but I mean, I have kids that are in their 30s, and
Mhm.
I can see where they're getting their life together. And I can see how much more life they have yet to get together and how much more they have to do and live and love and enjoy and go through, right?
Yeah.
Not everything is great, but you can kind of see the light turn on,
Mm.
watching my own kids. And something I've
That's what I'm
always
talking about.
yeah, and these younger ones, their kids, right? Now my kids don't have kids yet, but when they do, their kids, these young ones that are starting to come in, they already got it somewhere. They got it somewhere. They're going to pick up quicker because this is what we've been doing all along. We can look at the shoot. Now I can't remember all the generations before the baby boomers. Was it the World War II generation? I don't remember what they were called, but World War I generation, whatever the generation was that gave birth to the depression, that was it.
Mhm, the
The
depression.
ones they came in with their lessons and the lessons that they learned, and then their kids learned what they already knew and took it one step farther. And then the Gen Xers come in, yay, Gen X. And but even in the bit like in the in-betweens there, what did we have going on in the 70s? We had the peace marches, we had women's rights, we had all of the hippie movement, all of these things specifically to change the world. Go back farther. We had the women's rights, the marches for voting, Susan B.
Mhm.
Anthony. Again, that in between period where all this stuff starts happening. And then we soak it up in the next generation and we bring it and it just moves us along.
And
So,
it's
so yeah,
and it's really interesting how we can see that from this perspective and this age that we are now, and see all these things from this perspective. So, yeah,
we
we
have
we
to,
just talk about that because like I said, I'm not healed. I don't think we're ever finished healing, and I don't think we're ever 100% healed until we're done with this life, and then we
mhm,
choose whatever we come, you know. But let's put it this way: I'm not in my bed 24/7 anymore.
good. But you had some healing.
Yeah,
Yes.
so, I'm good again, I'm getting back on track and it's good. And so going through this and coming out, starting to emerge on the other side of it and then being able to see these things clearly and having conversations with people like you. It's there's just so much. There's so much that, like I said, being able to look back and check and see your past and see how you got to where you are, being able to embrace the changes and the things that will come up that are going to be different for you moving forward. Yeah, those changes, those are hard for a lot of people. I
Especially when you
sincerely
can't see them,
I
especially
try
when
to
you don't
understand.
know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Um
that's, Ronnie, your path to healing in this situation was go to ground, right? Go to
oh,
ground.
oh, I did.
But that illustrates how different paths of healing are different for different people. Just because one person isn't doing what another person is doing on their path doesn't mean that they're not still on their path towards healing.
Oh,
And that's
no.
the whole point is we're moving into that state of healing. And it's more than just, oh, my mom was really mean to me and I need to get over it. That's certainly a huge part of things. But it's also how am I healing, not just emotionally, not just physically, but how am I healing spiritually?
Mm.
Right? How am I taking myself, my consciousness, my higher self, whatever you want to call that? I think of it as a little blue light in the back of your head that never goes out, like your pilot light. How you,
That's a great analogy.
yeah. Um, how how are you helping that burn brighter? How are you moving yourself? What makes you burn brighter? For some people, it's get out and do things. Move, move, move. For some people, it's go to ground. For some people, it's therapy. For some people, it's writing. For some people, it's creative arts. Whatever
And
it
it's a
is.
combination. I think it can also be, not just a combination, but a stage thing because like this is my first stage was I was so not okay. I had to go to ground. Like
Mhm.
I really had to bury for a while. And now I'm coming out and I'm back in nature, I'm starting the movement. I can do the movement again. You
Right.
know, I know other times in the past, movement is what's gotten me through. All I needed was exactly what you're talking about. Just some movement. And I got through and I was okay.
Right. And it,
It's
yeah.
exactly what you're saying is what works for you.
And it doesn't have to be the same thing twice. I mean, that's the beauty and the frustration of being human is that we are on a path to healing the entire time we are here because we come to learn how to be better. We come to learn, to experience, to love, to do all those things. But the very basic bottom part of it is we're looking for some form of enrichment. We're looking for some kind of light bulb moment. We're looking for that. So we're on a
Well,
path to healing
yeah.
the whole time.
Well, what did we come to this planet for in the first place?
Live, love, learn, heal, and have fun.
Yeah,
Hmm.
to experience,
To experience.
to
Exactly.
learn and love
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
love.
And
And
love includes self-love.
if you just experience life, which keeps you aware and present and in the moment, right? Through going through experiences. Oh, for me, when I was traipsing through what felt like 6 feet, but literally like thigh, about 4 feet worth of freaking snow. And like I'm sinking down into snow up to my hoo-ha.
Hmm.
I know you understand this,
Hmm.
but the first time that you experience that and you are so not expecting it, and it's a hell of a lot colder than you think,
Yes, it
even
is.
though you're bundled up and you think you got this, honey, there's not enough clothing in my opinion, but nonetheless, you know, oh my gosh, I totally, but you experience that. Okay, so yes, I'm falling into, 4 feet of snow and no, I don't have on enough clothes. Well, what is all of that? It's an experience.
Yep.
You can look at it as pleasant or unpleasant. For me, it was highly unpleasant. And what did I learn through it? I learned I don't like it and I need a hell of a lot more clothing. Second time
Right.
around, I realized, actually, let's be honest, about the third time that happened, I was like, there's just not enough clothing, period, end of story. I learned real quick
Hmm.
with that one. But, and then at the end of the day, I experienced, I learned, and now I'm going to love the life that I had while I was there.
Right. Makes perfect sense.
And
Yep.
that's, in my opinion, I love this so much when you did this, how you can let it go.
Hmm. And let me
I
tell
love that
you,
when you did that. It was amazing. It was great.
when you love, you're healing.
You're healing.
Love is the basis. Healing is what we're
Yeah.
here for. Love is the basis. So when you're unpacking your boxes, you're showing yourself love.
Yes, and you look at it as the experience, you look at it as the learns and just love because if you just look at
Yeah.
those three big umbrellas, you can see all the many things that those things can lead to and it's just
Hmm.
yeah.
No, but like I was saying with the boxes, it's not all easy stuff,
Mm.
right? There are things that you've got packed away, and you meaning the royal you, we, all of us, that are really tough and really difficult. Um, and sometimes they involve other people, and sometimes they involve us carrying around things that happened that we have not forgiven, that people have done to us. Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, in my experience, forgiveness is not a necessary thing. Okay. I know nobody, not everybody's going to believe me. It's not You don't have to forgive somebody to heal. It's
Mm.
how you decide to act on the state of unforgiveness. Okay, so hear me out.
I think
You can decide not to forgive them and carry that anger around in your hand. Was it Buddha who said like a hot coal and only burns yourself?
mm,
Or you can choose not to forgive them, but don't carry it. Because what's it going to change? If something happened, it happened, right? So if you choose not to forgive somebody, it doesn't make you a bad person, but how you choose to deal with that state of not forgiving is what either holds you down or helps you move forward.
yes. And also, I will add to that because as we know, because we talk about it all the time, the emotions in the body, all that's going to do is continue. And this is what they mean when they say, if you don't forget them, you're only hurting yourself physically and emotionally. You are hurting yourself. I agree with you, though. You don't have to forgive. You have to find a way to let go, though.
Right. And that's that fine line. Just like they
You
say,
really
forgive
do.
and forget is almost a way of boxing things up,
Yeah, there's really no forgetting.
but it's the letting go.
It's the
It's the
let
letting
go.
go so it doesn't become something that is tied to your ankle for the rest of your life, right?
Because it's
Blow it
either going to
away.
make one of those previous boxes or baggage bigger and heavier, or it's going to add another one.
Right. It doesn't
And
mean,
either way, you're just carrying around more crap that you don't need.
right. So maybe look into forgiving yourself for the act of not forgiving somebody else.
Boom shakalaka.
It's how you choose to deal with it,
That's what I
you
tell
know?
people. You don't have to forgive me, just forgive yourself.
Right. But also don't carry around that anger, resentment, wish for revenge, because then you're not doing anything to heal yourself. You're adding more to your boxes.
But doesn't that help? Like if you forgive yourself for having those feelings and emotions in the first place, then isn't it easier to forgive yourself?
Yes.
I think so. From
It's the
yeah,
letting go. It's
because it
just like
comes back
this.
to the let go.
Yep. Yep. Let it
I really
go.
did like that when you
Bless
did
it,
that.
love it, let it go. You know what? Everything that you're carrying around is somehow a part of you. Somehow it had some meaning at some point, if it doesn't still, to be a part of you. It had something to do with your life. Celebrate that you had all these experiences. You have boxes full of experiences, and then unpack them and see what you really still need, you know, and see what you can really let go of. And it's almost always letting go of more. And it's learning about yourself because the act of healing is something that is self led and self directed or spirit led, higher self, however
Mm,
you want to look at it. See what things mean, see if they mean anything now, and then let them go.
mm-hmm,
Try to let go. Try to forgive yourself for carrying stuff for so long. Try to forgive yourself for things that you did that now that you can look back on and say, wow, that was kind of stupid. Or wow, I really did a number, or I shouldn't have done that. Okay, you shouldn't have. Fine. You did. It's over. It's gone. You need to make amends to somebody, make amends to somebody. I'm certainly not saying don't tell people you're sorry if you did something and you feel bad about it, but tell yourself you're sorry too,
mm.
right? Apologize to yourself. Let yourself off the hook for things that, what if it was something that you did when you were 12 years old? You were a kid. Would you forgive your kid? Why don't you forgive the kid that you are?
You know, they say it all the time. Give yourself the grace, the everything that you would give to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you would give somebody else time and space to grieve, then give yourself time and space to grieve. If you would
Yep.
give somebody else, you know, your listening ear to just be there and whatever it looks like that you would give to somebody else, turn around and give that to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know
So,
what's so
mm-hmm.
interesting is that is actually what I am currently doing that I've decided I'm doing. All the same exact advice. Here's what I do these days is I'm like, okay, what would I tell one of my clients? what would I say to somebody else who is in this moment right now? And that's what I'm internalizing, and that's what I just repeat. It's okay. If all you can do is this today, then that's okay. Then that's all you
If
can do.
if it's something you would forgive somebody else for, why don't you forgive yourself?
Exactly. And that's where I'm
So
at. And
this
I'm just doing that for myself. And I'm just, it's working. I
so
think
I'll
it's
tell
the
you,
first time I've ever done it cognizantly this way. And yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
it's that second half look back. It's the second half look back does a whole lot. And I'm not downplaying anyone who's not in the second half yet.
Oh gosh, no,
No. But
no.
there's something changes. At
There's a
some
lot
point,
to be said for
something changes.
experience.
So what we're talking about brings me to the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is a incredible prayer that will allow you to forgive yourself, forgive your everything else, and send love. It's 4 lines. Now we're not
Hmm.
religious here. This is not a religious prayer. You're going to hear it and you're going to think it is. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Now you can put that in a religious context where everybody has to go and beg God to forgive them for whatever they may or may not have done, right? Or you can put that in the spiritual context, which I truly believe this is how it's written, is to say this to yourself,
Hmm.
right? I'm sorry. Apologize to yourself. Please forgive me. Ask yourself for forgiveness and let yourself feel it. Thank yourself and love yourself. You start that cycle. Now, with the Ho'oponopono prayer, you can say it like a mantra. A lot of people do. There's a song. Maybe if I can find the song, we'll put a link in the show notes too to the
Yeah,
Ho'oponopono song
because we
because
had
it's
it,
really pretty. We talked about it,
we've,
I think, once before, right?
yeah, and we've actually done it before.
Yeah. So bringing that prayer into your daily practice or bringing that prayer into your healing work is what's really gonna, uh, it's not really, it's another tool to bring
Hmm.
yourself to that sense of healing and that sense of letting go of the things you no longer need and allowing yourself to love yourself. And when you get to the point that you can actually love yourself, your healing is begun. Your healing has started. We're never fully healed, I don't believe, in this lifetime because we're too human for that. No matter how enlightened we are, no matter how spiritual we are, no matter how many worlds we're visiting, or however, all the cool things that all the people we've had on here do, we're still human at the end of the day. We are stuck in these bodies, whether our spirits come from Sirius or from heaven or from wherever, we're still trapped in this body. And because we're in this body, we have the neurons and we have the accents and we have the firings that go off and we have the emotions and we have the physical, visceral responses that any human has. Because that's what we are. And that's why we're here, like we said before. But if you can give yourself that love and you unpack those boxes and you look at the stuff that you're holding on to with love, you can really see how much do you need to hold on to. And you can just move yourself that far, that much farther on that path towards healing.
I agree. I was going to say one of my favorite ways to use the Ho'opono, I think they actually do call it a prayer,
Mm-hmm.
but the Ho'opono method is what I prefer to call it, is I like to look at myself in the mirror
Mm-hmm.
and I just do it with mirror work and I repeat it 3 times.
Yep.
I'm all about the power of three, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I do it 3 times while I'm looking in the mirror and I'm telling you, when I first started doing it a long time ago, I heard about it. Oh my, Deanna, I'm having to really think. I probably heard about it at least 15, maybe 20 years ago already.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At least 15 years ago. I heard about it about 15 years ago and I started using it and I loved it. And I noticed that it was not only, okay, here's where it gets a little dicey because I was about to say not only changing the way that I did things and I perceived things, but I was noticing other things were changing and the relate because I started it where I really found the biggest hits. So I started it a long time ago, like I said, but where I really found the biggest changes was when I was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started using it while I was teaching, mostly with those challenging students, wow. the shifts that were happening because, new teacher, learning all the things. We don't always, I mean, even if we're experienced, we don't always say the right thing or it doesn't come across correctly or what have you. And especially when you're dealing with, new students, all the news as a first time teacher, you know what this is,
Mhm.
and beginner level everything. Um, it, I started noticing the shifts. However, was that I don't think they really shifted towards me. I think it was more just me and the energy shifting.
Well,
But that's why
this
I say is it gets a little dicey
no,
because
this
it
prayer,
it
it's
says that it
ancestral.
shifts them as well as you, that it works twofold and then it sprawls from there, which I totally 100% agree and am on
Mhm.
board with. I do believe that as well. That's my belief in how I am. But you and I both know like it goes deeper than just that because it's all connected anyway through the energy.
It goes through
Everything's
ancestral lines. It is
it's so
a
good.
overwhelmingly huge healing when it's repeated like a mantra. And there's a story in Joe Vitale's book, and I'm probably not going to quote it perfect, but it was an institution of some sort with a lot of, I believe, people with mental health issues. Or
Psychological
yeah.
institution. It was
And
a ward.
yes, and somebody just said the prayer over
The
and
doctor, that's
over.
how he came into it.
Yes, and that is the
And he only set
healing.
it to the charts.
Yes, and it goes through. It
He would
goes
just
through
look at the
all the
charts.
lines. Yep. Because
And that's
when you
why I
can build
use it
that
in the
up,
mirror.
when you can love yourself, that love goes and it
Yep.
spreads. And you can go down ancestral lines with it. You can go heal past things, future things, anything when you say that.
And
So
that's
on
why I do it in the mirror is because when I learned about it and I learned that he did it just from looking at the charts,
hmm
I was like, "Oh." Well, at that time, I was also into Louise Hay, who was teaching me mirror work, so I was like,
Yep.
"Oh, well, what if I just combine these 2? How brilliant." Oh, yeah, works like a charm.
See, another path towards healing.
Yeah, it works,
Another
I'm telling
path.
you.
hmm
Well, it's
hmm
interesting because I just started doing it again.
Yeah, I have it
You
right
didn't
by
even
my
know that.
desk. That's why I keep looking to the right because I have it pinned up on my wall right near me. And things get stressful at work and I've got it right there if I need it, you know. It's right
Mhm.
here. And like I said before, any path to healing, if it's getting you where you need to go, is right for you. It's a good one,
So be it.
right? You're doing good things, you're doing good works, you're trying to heal yourself and not hurt anyone else, and you're on the right track. The path to healing is a long one, but I think it starts with looking inside and doing the shadow work, unpacking your boxes, doing what you need to do to really illuminate the things that need the healing. Because you can walk around and say, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'm on a path to healing. I'm going to meditate, and then I'm going to, drink some moon water, and then I'm going to go dance naked outside." But the truth is, that's nothing if you're not actually doing the work, and that's the
You
hard
gotta
part.
do the work.
And that's the
With
part that makes some people say, nope, I'm just going to go outside and drink moon water. I'm not going to deal with it. Fine. That's your path.
and
That's cool for you.
it's so interesting because I talk about that all the time, with clients, like, are you ready to do the work?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to change? Are you ready for the transformation? Because that comes with doing work, embracing changes, and then the transformation happens. So, are you ready for all that? That's why I say I only work with people who are ready. You got
Right.
to be ready.
But it starts with baby steps. So
Hmm.
even if I would posit to say that even if you're not fully ready to go into a full transformation of mind and body and spirit, if you're
Yeah.
ready to take the first step on the stairs towards the boxes, you're doing good.
Yeah.
You're doing good.
Shadow work. And
Sh-
by
But
boxes, we mean shadow work.
yes, and it's baby
The
steps.
inner deep work. Yes.
hmm
And it's
hmm
hard.
hmm
It's
hmm
nothing easy. I
Yep,
think
there is.
that's I think there's memes and stuff I see a lot on social media. There's a lot of different memes and I see different posts and stuff like that talking about how hard the inner work, the shadow work, the boxes, unpacking our boxes, how hard that work is. It gets And here's the thing, when we say it's hard, it's not like physically hard.
Right.
It's emotionally and mentally exhausting, and it'll take you down if
Well,
if you try to take on too much and you're
yeah,
not
I don't,
ready.
yeah,
'Cause it's work. I mean, it's no I mean, it's kinda like having a really intense, workout, going f you haven't worked out in 3 years, and you decide to go to the gym, and you do 2 hours at the gym your first day back because 'cause you're like, "Yeah, I'm ready to do the work, and I'm ready to transform, and I'm ready to yada, yada, yada." Woo child, and you do leg days, arm days. I mean, you spend 2 hours at the gym, and you haven't worked out in 3 hours. What you gonna feel like the next day?
right.
It's gonna be intense. It's gonna be hard. You're just not gonna feel as fabulous if you were to start with like a 30-minute gym session or whatever your first workout. You hadn't worked out in 3
Right.
years, baby. Start with 30 minutes, not hours.
And that's what I
That's
wanted
a
to say.
lot.
Yes, it's baby steps, and
Yeah.
there is work involved when you're delving into your own mind and your own motivations, and you're realizing why you do what you do and all those things that come along with learning who you are. But don't allow it to overwhelm or scare you, because if you start with baby steps, you're doing
Mhm.
the right thing. You don't
Yeah.
have to confront all of your issues, sit down and say, okay, I'm going to meditate, talk to my guides, and open up all of my issues. No, you can say, okay, this has been really bothering me, so I'm going to focus on this one thing, and I'm going to see, what is it, why am I reacting this way, why am I saying this, what is my true motivation? And Ronnie, you and I touched on that a little bit off camera. And it's like, am I saying something for you, or am I saying it for me? And that's just one example of ways of looking into your motivations and stuff to get yourself on that path, towards being the most whole creature you can be in this lifetime. And so, yes, there's work, but you can approach it as, I'm getting to know who I am at my core, who
Mm.
I am. What keeps my light burning? Why does my light burn? What makes it burn brighter? And that's
Those are
the true
such good
work.
questions.
That's the
Mm.
true work of the shadow work, is not just letting go and facing the hard things and doing all that resolution, but what am I going to grow from this? Because I
Mhm.
obviously held on to these things for a reason. They obviously have some connection. There's some reason why. What bit of lesson or learning or love can I pull out of this situation to stick in my good box, in my
Mm.
heart, and keep with me? Let all the other crap go.
Agree.
So when you look at it, in some ways, it is just like you said, it is like a big freaking workout at the gym, but it's also a means of knowing yourself, learning yourself, loving yourself. And when you love yourself, you can love everybody else, and you can heal.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I think, pretty cool stuff, huh? I would
I
love to
wanna
hear comments on
recap
this.
2 things. Number 1, the Let It Go, I'm all in love with. And number 2, oh my gosh, the pilot light, the what
Mm-hmm.
makes your the higher self and staying con I love that analogy. That's a good one.
Yep,
High
it's just a
five.
little blue paint.
Boop. Yep, I loved it.
All
Good
right,
stuff.
so thank you everybody
And
for
yes, oh
listening.
my god, people, please comment on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Deanna had some great insights. I love it. Girl, you're on fire today. Go you.
Woo-hoo. Well,
Loving
I
it.
do want to I do want to stress the importance of proper mental health care, the
Uh-huh.
importance of proper medical care, because I say that all the time. Um, if you're
Mental health.
struggling, you don't have to struggle alone. Okay.
No.
We can put a link to NAMI, the National Association of Mental Health, and it is a place where you can look for help if you need it.
And we also
Um,
have our Facebook group if you don't need something that intense.
yes,
The
yes,
Facebook group is there. We can add a link to that as well.
yes, because we're not counselors here, but we're people who are on the path to healing, just like all of you. We're all walking the path together. We may be going in our own directions sometimes, but we're all on the same path.
Mhm.
So please share your
Good.
thoughts and comments. Anything you want to hear us talk about, anything you can do that thinks you think would be cool for you to be a guest on our show, go for it. We
Ah,
always love it.
yes.
And I have a shout out, but it's kind of selfish because it's to me, because I would like everybody to know that my little business, The Spirited Soul, is up and running. I am offering tarot cards, I am offering energy healing, and I am offering spiritual life coaching. Again, not a substitute for medical or mental health care, but in the spiritual realm, find it very helpful. I will put a link to my website where you can make appointments. If you are in the Rochester, New York area, you have the option of in person or Zoom appointments. If you are outside of Rochester, you probably have to go on Zoom, but we can work. It'll work. So I just want to say shout out to my little business that's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
Yes,
It is a
yes,
huge
yes, yes.
business. So I'll put a
So good.
link. I'll put a link there. Pat myself on the back a little bit. And
Yes.
yeah, do you have any shout outs today, Ronnie?
I actually, believe it or not, I sure do not. Not today.
Ah, oh
I
no.
know. No, I've been hibernating. I've been away from the world, so not today.
Understandable. Well, I'm going to
No.
shout out to everybody that's listening to us today or tomorrow or whenever you're listening to this. Thank you because we appreciate you. We
It's
are
so
here
interesting
to
is
do this for you.
it's so interesting that you say that because right after I said that, actually, I wanted to say, you know what? Thank you, everybody who took a break with us, and just thank you all for being there. We do this for you guys. We do it for us,
You do
yes,
it for
but we
us
also
too.
do it
Yes.
for you guys. And thank you so much for being a part of our journey with us. Thank you.
So I will say, be blessed, be blissed, know that you're loved and love yourself. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.